Outlander first aired in 2014 and has released 6 seasons. Fans of the show might be aware that the television series is an adaptation of the titular novels by Diana Gabaldon. The show stars Katrina Balfe as Claire Fraser, a time-traveling protagonist. However, some fans believe that Claire is a villain in the show. Why is this? Also, why do fans hate Claire, according to Reddit? Keep watching for answers. What are the reasons why fans hate Claire, according to Reddit? Firstly, she sticks her nose where it doesn't belong. A Redditor expressed an unpopular opinion about Claire by going to great lengths to enumerate all the irritating things about her. The main criticism about Claire is that she sticks her nose into everyone's business. While it is true that Claire has opinions on most topics, she also has the most power. Because of this quality, she is one of the strongest female characters in Outlander. As the main character, she is always engaged, and from her point of view, she does her best to assist others and combat an obsolete 18th century system that carries a set of antiquated ideals. Secondly, she has a jealous temperament. Claire being irrationally jealous is another crucial counterintuitive claim stated by the same Redditor. The supporter notes how she grew envious of Lord John Grey despite the fact that he had done so much for Jaime merely because he had affection for Jaime. Furthermore, the Redditor felt as though Claire's jealousy of Sandy, whom Frank had begun dating, was pointless because she too was in love with Jaime and the open marriage was her decision. Once more, most supporters come to Claire's defense by arguing that she was more embarrassed by the woman's appearance at her graduation celebration and in front of young Brianna than she was jealous of Sandy. Her annoyance caused her to lash out in rage, and Frank ought to have been more careful about who he invited over and when. Next, she is selfish. A Redditor blatantly accuses Claire of being selfish and making poor judgments. The fan goes on to explain his viewpoints by bringing up Claire's objections to Jaime taking on the cruel Blackjack Randall and avenging himself. The fan even goes so far as to claim that she ought to have remained in her own period. In season 2, Claire forced Jaime to make a pledge that he would wait a year before killing Blackjack Randall. Her goal was to have a child with her first husband, Frank, and to ensure that any hostility between Jaime and Randall 200 years ago wouldn't impact Frank Randall in the future. Generally speaking, even though she didn't love Frank as much as she loved Jaime, she still wanted to make sure that he wasn't simply eliminated from existence through no fault of his. Fourth on the list, Claire is horrible to Frank. There's a lot of strain in Claire Fraser's marriage to Frank, who was born in the 20th century. A Redditor complained that Claire almost seems to be punishing Frank with her coldness after she returns from her whirlwind 3-year infidelity trip. While a small portion of Team Frank may concur with this assertion, the vast majority of fans believe that Claire was forced to stay with a man she no longer loved because of the circumstances. Additionally, a lot of Outlander fans think Frank got worse as time went on, particularly when he intended to separate Brianna from Claire as soon as Claire graduated. There are 5 reasons left on today's list. Next, she is a know-it-all. Another critic of the program's main character claims that every time Claire speaks, they experience a deep, scorching, searing, heated wrath of emotion. Claire simply wants to dominate weaklings from the highly debated perspective of this fan. She tries to portray herself as all-knowing despite being socially out of place 200 years in the past. While it is true that Claire Fraser has a propensity for dominance, it should be remembered that she has been put in the most incredible circumstances. Therefore, she has had to assert herself in a culture that neither sought to understand her nor appreciated who she was. She might have come across as a know-it-all with her modern ideals, refinement, and historical knowledge that helped her navigate the perilous waters of the past, but in reality, she knew things that the people of the time couldn't have known. Sixth on the list, Claire ruined Jaime's life. A Redditor wrote an explosive opinion in which they claimed that Claire is a bad person who has wrecked Jaime's life of every turn. The user argues that Claire wasn't always good for Jaime, from treating him like an enemy right after arriving in France to making him retell his horrible experiences inside Wentworth prison. That was one of the darkest things Jaime Fraser had ever gone through on Outlander. This is obviously a very unpopular opinion given the millions of admirers the pair has all over the world who support them. Even though Claire is far from flawless, she has stood by Jaime's side like a rock and helped the young Scotsman in ways he could never have dreamed. There are 3 reasons left on this list. Next, she cannot stay content with her life. In the opinion of one Redditor, Claire struggles to be happy with her life. The fan claims that Claire and Jaime always seem to be looking for trouble and frequently put other people's lives at risk. Though they always act with the best of intentions, the lovers frequently discover that they have taken on too much after trying to fix an outdated and frequently inhumane system. The general consensus is that they are doing the best they can, given the unusual circumstances, and are making use of their knowledge of future events, especially Claire's. Eighth on this list, trying to split Mary Hawkins and Alex Randall Randall was not fair. When Alex Randall, Blackjack Randall's younger brother, and Mary Hawkins, one of Outlander's subtle heroes, fell in love, Claire attempted to separate them. This, in the opinion of a Redditor, was straight up wicked. This fan claimed that Claire was dooming the kind-hearted, innocent Mary to a life of rape with Blackjack Randall. The majority of supporters, as evidenced by the comment section, saw Claire's efforts in this situation as evidenced that she did care about Frank. She also attempted to change the conditions so that Frank wasn't wiped out of existence. She did so because she was unaware that Frank was a direct descendant of BJR, but rather his brother. Additionally, she was aware that BJR would shortly pass away, preventing Mary from receiving a life sentence. Lastly, for today, she should not have been on the ship. A spectacular excursion of Jamaica was taken by Claire and Jamie in Season 3 in order to save young Ian, who had been kidnapped by the ship Brucia. A Redditor wrote that they just couldn't hear her anymore and believed that Claire had no genuine motive to travel with Jamie since she would have been of little assistance to him in locating his nephew. That opinion bucks the general trend of fervent support for Claire, who ultimately saved numerous lives aboard the Porpoise, which had been adversely affected by typhoid disease in the worst way possible. Why is Claire the true villain in Outlander? After realizing Claire Fraser, the time-traveling main character of the series, has demonstrated some terribly selfish behavior throughout the years, viewers of Outlander have been venting about her. The highly anticipated 7th season of Outlander is now filming in Scotland, and millions of fans around the world are looking forward to its return. But according to a recent remark from a fan from the popular Star series, some fans may have grown weary of Claire Fraser's antics. Several Outlander fans argue that Claire's selfish actions have hurt her relationship with Jamie Fraser, played by Sam Heughan. The series, which is based on Diana Gabaldon's books, began in 2014 when Claire traveled across time to Scotland in the 18th century. She soon meets and falls in love with a tough Highlander, and after many travels across the world, the couple has settled in Fraser's Ridge, North Carolina. Despite the fact that they have grown to be one of the most adored couples on television, some viewers think Claire's careless actions may be detrimental to Jamie's happiness. A Redditor stated that they can't get over how selfish Claire is, stating that she doesn't seem to ever learn from her errors. They then asked if they were reading too much into it, saying that every time she acts selfishly and Jamie suffers consequently, they can't help but cringe. One of the worst instances was when, in the 2nd season, she went back to the 20th century to be with her first husband, Frank Randall, played by Tobias Menzies. Claire forced herself through years of a loveless marriage despite still being committed to Jamie, even though she openly thought she had been slain. As the series progresses, numerous viewers have asserted that practically every negative event Jamie encounters may be attributed to Claire's poor judgment. Another Redditor stated that every unfortunate event that has occurred to Jamie since she arrived can be traced back to Claire. They continued by stating that she first gets him back on Blackjack Randall's radar, then she gets him caught and tortured, then she gets him involved in an espionage plan and goes off to do feel-good stuff because she's bored and other things before she returns to safety. The Redditor continued, saying Claire comes back into town after 20 years, just as Jamie is beginning to feel some stability in his life, and within one episode, he is dealing with a dead body. He is shot, owes his second wife a large amount of money, and pirates take his nephew hostage in addition to being in additional legal difficulties. She tries to return home as soon as things get serious because she finds all this pandemonium unpleasant. The Redditor then stated that they can't even deal with Claire, and they sometimes see her as the real antagonist of the show. Another fan even reported that during the 3rd season, her behavior started getting even worse, and they stopped recommending the show. According to another viewer, Claire is portrayed significantly better in Diana's original novels than in the television adaptation. However, it's clear that Jamie still loves his wife despite her behavior, as Season 7 will begin with the Highlander hot on Claire's tail to save her from the Brownsville gang. We have now come to the end of this video. Do you believe Claire is the true villain in Outlander? What else do you want to know about the show? Let us know in the comments below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.